What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Sean Spencer, and I am here with Anthony Handy, and this is Let's Talk College Football. Anthony, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. It is good to be in the house of the Lord one more time. We are gathered here together one more time. So it's good. It's good to be here. Good to see you, bro.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I know you've been a busy man. It's like you went out on the Prince Purple Rain reunion tour, all world tour, and you just getting back. And you fresh off the plane. Like, let's do this.
hey, when all the dates and all the appointments are done, you just put 50 more on the end of it and say keep it moving. Let's go. But look, hey man, let's get right into this, man. Week 4. We got to go back to that because it was a crazy week, man. And you know, I see the hats in the background. One of them of a dominant team, one of them not so much.
Hey. Pull up.
Hey. You know, it's the week of our game. So you know, Washington plays Atlanta this week. So yeah.
Okay. I see you.
So and we I don't know if you've seen, but we ain't been playing too great as well. At least y'all on a winning.
If you want to call it that, by all means, feel free.
So we will definitely see. But your other team is just out here blanking folks. Georgia just demolishes Vandy. What? I know it wasn't a contest, but I mean,
you see it, right? You see it, right?
Oh, I see the hat. I see it.
Oh man, look, that was quite possibly. I think that was a more complete game, even though we didn't score. No, we didn't score 76 points on UAB. Then we put 56. We put 56 points on them. But even though the score was a little bit lower, it was a more complete game. The defense showed up. The offense showed up. You know, I honestly have nothing bad to say about Georgia at this point. I think there's a lot of hoopla amongst the fans about why is Kirby playing 2 and 3 quarterbacks in a game, but people don't understand. Nick Saban played Tua all year, and that's how Nick Saban did things. You know, by the second and third quarter, if they're up by 5 scores, put your second and third stringers in, let them get some reps. Let's not get any serious injury to our starter, which turned out to be a good thing because we see now that Tua is a little bit injury prone. So just think, if we had Tua playing in the fourth quarter and they're up 78-0 on the Bug Tussle Crocodiles from southwestern Florida, and one defensive tackle happens to get through and get a good hit. Now you're starting quarterbacks out for the whole season.
Right.
So I'm okay with that decision. Plus that it gives you guys that are backups an opportunity to get in, get some reps, get some playing time, get seen on television. Because everybody wants I know everybody wants to play. Kind of hard when your team sucks and you got to keep your first string in. But if you got the time to let your guys get out there and get some real-time game experience, by all means, let them go out there and do it.
Oh, yeah, and it shows in the stats. I mean, you had 2 of your quarterbacks getting over 100 yards, with JT Daniels getting 129 and Bennett getting 151. But
the
stats also show that you have a 100% running back by committee thing going on in your backfield. Nobody got over 50 yards, but I mean, everybody's getting contributions.
That's the way Georgia's been for quite some time, though, because even when Todd Gurley was there, he had Keith Marshall. When Nick Chubb was there, he had Sony Michel and DeAndre Swift. And when both Chubb and Michel went into the pros, you had Swift and Zeus, and now you've got Zeus. And I don't even know, man. Look, I'm like Funny Man Johnson. This year, I'm learning a whole bunch of new names. And still, this 4 weeks in, this is names I don't even know. I know Zeus, Zamir White. But I think they've got 2 guys back there, and Cook is back there too, right? That's
Edwards.
What's the little brother from Minnesota? Where's Cook?
Yeah, they got Cook over there. He had 8 carries, 35 yards. They got Edwards, who got 10 carries for 46. You know, But yeah, you're right. White gets the bulk of it. He had 9 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown. But I like that they're not using him. They're kind of doing like the SMU backfield, with both of those guys. So not one person's getting all of that work. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, I will tell you this: the game changer for us this year has been the defense. The year that 41 years ago now that the Dogs won the national championship. The junkyard, I mean, we had Herschel on offense, but that defense was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep. And the year that we went to the national championship and faced off against Bama, that defense was ridiculous. And I think this defense is better than the 2017 defense. I mean, they're dude, I don't think if my memory serves me correctly, I don't think we have had an offensive touchdown scored on us yet.
No, I believe that.
It
certainly wasn't in this game.
I believe back through a pick 6, maybe, but there has not been an offensive touchdown scored on us yet in 4 games.
Wow.
And to that end, even the offense now that it's clicking on all 4 cylinders, Georgia right now is averaging 454.5 yards per game. Nice. Their opponents are averaging 185.3 yards per game. If your offense is clicking, I know people say defense wins championships, but if your offense can put up numbers while your defense is shutting them down, I mean, it's a perfect storm.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, even Florida didn't shut Bama down like that. Even though they beat on Bama, they didn't shut Bama down like that.
Right.
Now, granted, we have yet to play. The closest thing that we have played to a Bama so far this season was Clemson at the beginning of the season, and that win is not so significant anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how long you can lean on that one because I mean they lost this past week, so
yeah,
you can't really
too.
So you can't really that one. And honestly, they're ranked 25th, and they're in dire need of some help, or they're going to be knocked out of the top 25. The way that they're playing, you talk about a rebuild. They are just rebuilding right now, and it's not like they don't have the talent, but they're just not getting it done. They're not getting it done.
How about this? Last year's ACC champion is now currently ranked behind Wake Forest, North Carolina State in the ACC.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said? They're ranked behind North Carolina State, a team that's known for 2 teams that are known for being basketball schools.
Yeah.
The current dominant football team in the conference is ranked behind 2 basketball schools.
Yep. That's what happens when you lose a generational talent and half all your team. Not everybody can be Alabama. And Clemson, I'm glad they had their run, but it might be a little bit of time before they find somebody else. But hey, I got to move on real quick. You had mentioned Alabama and you had mentioned Tua. Well, his brother is playing in college and not doing too bad.
Light out ball. Right?
Yeah, 4-0 with Maryland. And I watched that first game against West Virginia. That was back and forth. And Tua, man, he has that little bit of something extra like his brother has. He definitely leads that team. I like what they have going on. They beat Kent State this week, 37-14. Tua put up 384 yards and 3 touchdowns this week. So, hey, I like this. I mean, they're in the Big Ten, and we've seen a number of teams in the Big Ten are pretty solid this year. So it'd be interesting to see how they fare once they get into Big Ten play. But I like this.
Well, let's just hope one thing. Let's hope that he's a little bit more durable than his brother. Actually, a lot bit more durable.
Yeah. He already had injury issues this year.
Because Tua is already out. He's on the injured reserve list, and he's going to be out for 3 weeks? He's one of those guys that you blow on him good and he gets hurt.
Yeah.
So, I've been tracking from a distance on him, and he's definitely playing lights out ball out there. And that's saying something because his older brother at Alabama had a dynasty built around him. Maryland, for the most part, is Maryland this season is catching lightning in a bottle.
Well, now they have, and they've been building this for a couple of years. They have one of the most elite receiving cores in college football this year. Demas, their one wide receiver, is one of the top wide receivers on Kuiper's draft board for this coming year. They've got a couple other guys, Jones and Cobbs, that are putting up numbers. They got the way their offense runs. Their receivers they're okay, but they also benefit from not really. I mean, West Virginia, they played them, but Big 12 and West Virginia ain't never been really known for defense, and it has been a while since they've been known for defense. Absolutely. So they've been playing. They haven't really played much defense, but they've been playing some solid games. They've been putting up some points. It's a great start for them.
Absolutely.
So we got to keep it going. There was a game played this week at Soldier Field in Chicago, neutral site for these teams. Notre Dame came and whooped Wisconsin, and this game definitely was not as close as I thought it was going to be. Can we believe in Notre Dame?
I was going to ask you the same question. I was going to ask you the exact same question. And I have a very, very good friend. A man's like a brother to me. He's probably going to watch this later. So, Donnie, I'm sorry. I love you, but I'm sorry, but I got to say it. Notre Dame has been the Michigan of the independents. Does that make sense to me? To you? That makes sense to you?
No, yeah.
You see what Michigan does every year. Michigan comes out, bow, get out the way, bow, get out the way, bow, get out the way. Then when it comes time to play Ohio State,
right.
you see what you get when they play.
Lay the egg.
That's what you get. And Notre Dame has been dominant within their schedule. And even if they haven't been dominant, they've at least found a way to win week in, week out, to the point where they earned themselves a playoff berth in the last 2-3 years. And then they got in the playoff. And what happened when they got to the playoff?
They got stomped. Exactly. They can't handle Alabama.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come with more than what you're building with to be able to play an Alabama, to be able to play a dominant Ohio State, to be able to play a dominant Clemson. I say dominant because they're not so dominant this year, but they have been the top 5 teams in the NCAA for the last 5 years have been Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma, except for this year because they're looking a little suspect this year also.
Right.
Talk about that too. And right behind them, University of Georgia, like right on the precipice at the edge of the top tier. Those have been the top 5 dominant teams in NCAA football this year. And if you can't beat any of them, then it doesn't mean anything that you can beat a Wisconsin.
Exactly. And the other side of that is, we give them credit for last year when, Trevor Lawrence was at Clemson, Notre Dame beat him, and everybody was like, oh, my goodness, they beat this top-tier team. Look, the ACC is not – they've had a couple years with, Jameis when Florida State, and back in the day, Florida State was solid, but they were – yeah, right, yeah.
By the way,
W.
By the way, your boy, hey, he got another W this Sunday.
Yeah, he got another W.
They tried to write him off after last week.
Playing the Cam-less Patriots, and McAttack proves he could have used one more year in college potentially, but he might get sacrificed this week on Mount Tom Brady. And Belichick might be there with him.
It wouldn't surprise me if Mac Jones mysteriously wound up on the injured reserve list for this Sunday.
That would be funny.
There's a picture of Mac Jones circulating, and I don't know. It's the internet now, so you never know if anything is Photoshopped in the game this past Sunday. And he looks like he is in complete abject terror of what is coming. All you can see is hands reaching for him. Like Pennywise, the clown is coming through his bedroom door.
Yeah.
And this is the guy. This is your guy, huh, Bill?
He's going with him.
I'll just say, that's your guy, huh? I mean, this is not me making a statement for Cam, but I'm saying all the free agents that there were in the league. I mean, there's one that was in Detroit that nobody wanted, and they sent him to Los Angeles, and he's lighting it up. He could be up there with you right now, lighting it up. People are talking comeback player of the year.
Watch out.
Week 3, they're talking comeback player of the year. But
they've been talking that for a minute. Yeah.
Honestly,
I can't believe it.
I have to. I'm gonna touch on this because it kind of deals with college. I think the trend in the NFL has become, as soon as we can get our hot draft pick on the field, let's get him out there. You know, Aaron Rodgers came in the league and he sat behind Brett Favre, even though even though it was obvious that Brett was past the pinnacle of his career. Drew Brees sat behind Phillip Rivers. Now, granted, Phillip Rivers had a little more gas in the tank, but Drew sat behind Phillip Rivers. And it was only when he got traded to the Saints. And then he sat behind Aaron Brooks until they told Aaron Brooks to sit down. Tom sat behind Drew Bledsoe, who was serviceable. He was at the point where he was good enough to not cost you any game, but he wasn't good enough to be a world beater.
I think he was similar to a Matt Ryan, where he put up 300-400 yards in a game, but you still wouldn't win.
Right. And so now you have this trend. Jacksonville drafted Trevor Lawrence, threw him out there. Zach Wilson is in New York, right? With the Jets. And they trotted him out on the field. Justin Fields is out there right now. Now, granted, Andy Dalton did go down with an injury, so he's the backup. I got you there. But you see what happened to him. They're trotting these guys out. Tua last year. And Tua was only a year removed from having a bad hip, and then he wound up getting hurt again. They're trotting these guys out. You know what? I know you want to rebuild. I know your last season sucked. I know you want something to excite the fans, but at what cost? Your team 8-9 years ago got the Heisman Trophy winner. And what did the owner do? He essentially cost the boy his whole career. It's just a trend. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. Now, what I want to talk about, because I want to go back to something. I don't know if you noticed, I highlighted it in our little video short last week. Do you still believe in Cincinnati?
They're still undefeated. We're going to talk about the game that they got coming up, which is against the aforementioned Notre Dame. Yes, maybe I was a little premature in saying they could touch in Alabama, but you got to give them credit. Yeah, well, I understand, but you got to give them credit for being undefeated. I mean, similar to Maryland, because Maryland's not going to be able to touch Alabama. But if you're undefeated in college football, where teams, even the best teams, except for Alabama, lose week in and week out, you gotta give love. I don't believe in them as much.
I'm not saying I don't respect them. I'm not saying they're probably not a good team. What I am saying is I don't think they're at the level where they can get with Alabama. Now, to be fair, if you want to go back to last week, every now and again, I think what has people sometimes thinking that the smaller programs can beat the bigger programs is once a season we get a Cinderella. It used to only be once a season we get the Cinderella story where Goliath would beat David. But it's popped up a lot this year. And the one that stood out to me the most, and I don't know if you had this on there as one of our topics this week. Georgia, what was it? West Georgia, East Georgia against Auburn?
Yeah. Did Auburn Woes score that one? Let me see. Let me check that one out.
Was it South Georgia? I feel so unprepared right now. But the score, Auburn wound up having to drive. I will say this.
34-24 Auburn.
34-24. And that was only after Coach benched Bo Nix and sent in TJ Finley. He drove him 97 yards down the field. I think it was a little bit of home cooking on that completion catch, because I looked at it from when they showed it from the end zone camera. Yeah, it looked like the ball clearly he did not have under control. I mean, he had it, but he didn't have it under control. And then he fell on it and managed to control it through the fall. And they called it a completion. And that set up the touchdown play. But every now and again, you get a David that will show up and knock Goliath in the teeth. And they had Auburn on the ropes until the very, very end of the game. And I think that's the kind of thing that has folks believing. Well, Cincinnati's good enough to beat in Alabama. Well, this team is good enough to go in this team's good enough to go in the South Bend and beat Notre Dame, and then Notre Dame run them out of the stadium. But I just wanted to know. I just wanted to go back and touch on that because I'm gonna ask you every week. Now I'm gonna ask you how to.
Oh yeah.
How does this look, you, brother?
Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I believe I will always believe in my Marylands. I will always believe in my Coastal Carolinas, my BYUs, my Cincy's. I always believe in those teams because I watch those games. Everybody watches a lot of the big name game, the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC. I love watching the Pac-12, the Mid-American Conference, the SWAC, the Mountain West Conference. A lot of those games, you get these, random quarterbacks or random players that come out. We look at Wyoming that brought us Josh Allen. We look at just last year, Coastal Carolina or BYU gave us Zach Wilson. You know what I mean? Coastal Carolina even's got a quarterback that people are looking at. So I love looking at those, and I believe it.
Texas Tech gave us Pat Mahomes.
Well, right. And to your point about the quarterback, and then we're going to get back into this. To your point about the quarterbacks, I think ever since Patrick Mahomes and getting him, people are now like, we got to try to catch lightning in the bottle, to your point. They look at a Kyler Murray. They look at a Josh Allen. You know what I mean? These guys are Kyler went to Oklahoma, but Josh Allen went to Wyoming. Lamar went to Louisville. They're looking at these guys and they're kind of like, man, maybe we can do this. Maybe our vet isn't going to do it for us. Maybe this young guy is going to come in here and give us that spark. And it's interesting, but there's a problem, Matt, because what happens is it trickles down to college, and then you see situations like this. You talked about Oklahoma just barely winning this game. Spencer Rattler has been he's been put on that pedestal, kind of like the Baker and the Kyler, but he ain't on that level. I've seen him play a couple times. I'm trying to believe in him, but he didn't look that great.
I'm going to tell you what's going on. I said that Lincoln Riley was a quarterback guru. I've said that. I've heard it said, and I've said it myself. But what we have that we're looking at, look at his prior three quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He had Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker was a transfer. He had Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was also a transfer.
Right.
He had Jalen Hurts, and we all know Jalen Hurts was a transfer. This is the first quarterback in like 5 or 6 years that Lincoln Riley has had to raise from the ground up.
Yeah.
And it's been nothing special. There have been flashes of brilliance, but he's not lighting the stadium up every week.
No, he's not.
The only time he lit up the stadium was when they ran West Carolina out of the stadium. They beat them like 76-0. And that's what they were supposed to do. But then they come out and they lay this egg. He got booed in his home stadium.
Yeah.
He got booed in his home stadium. And he was like, well, and you're right. And you touched on a point. They did a whole television special about him, QB1, yada, yada, yada. This kid, Spencer Rattler. They did him. Spencer Rattler coming to Oklahoma was just like Bryce Harper coming to the Nationals. Mm-hmm. They were talking about Bryce Harper was on, if you remember, he was like a sophomore in high school. He was on a cover of Sports Illustrated. They were doing all kinds of special about him. He came to DC. Now, granted, he even had flashes of brilliance. And he came out and he hustled and he played hard. But then we saw that the young man in him, the kid that had been on the pedestal since, he gets easily frustrated. If you can knock him off his game, he won't get focused. And Spencer's the same thing. That was all I heard when I first moved to Oklahoma and was listening to the franchise, which is Oklahoma City's equivalent of WJFK out here. For those watchers listening, that's all they were talking about. This kid Spencer Rattler is coming. Can't wait. And at that point, Baker Mayfield. I know Baker had moved on. Kyler Murray was playing. Jalen was still at Alabama. And they were talking about, there's this kid, Spencer Rattler. He's coming, and he's going to do these great and wonderful things. And he's still in high school, and he took a tour to campus, and they're already treating him like a celebrity. He was already on the pedestal before he even had a ball snap. That's a lot of pressure for a kid at 16 or 17. And it's impossible. At 16 or 17, come on, man. Let's be real about something. I don't know what you do for a living, but let's just say you was a shoe salesman.
Mm-hmm.
And people have been telling you for ages that you was the absolute best shoe salesman on the face of the planet. You said at 5, I want to sell shoes. By the time you were 16, they had you on TV and you had a name, image, and likeness deal and blah, blah, blah. By the time you graduated high school, you can't tell me that wouldn't go to your head. By the time you graduate high school and take the job, you mean to tell me you're not going to walk in the door like you the best thing since sliced bread?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're treating you that way. Definitely, I believe it.
You get treated that way for so long before you even get the job. Sometimes it's hard to make that adjustment when you get humbled.
Mm.
And this has been a humbling season for that young man. This is second season. It's been a humbling season for him.
Yeah.
And honestly, unless they right the ship, they're not going to make. I mean, they might win another conference championship at that. But I believe this week they're playing Baylor.
Right.
And Baylor always beats them. Baylor beats them upside the head every year.
Mm.
I'm sorry, Kansas State. They got Kansas State this week.
Right.
Kansas State, Baylor, and Iowa State always push Oklahoma to the wire, and that was with Jalen and with Kyler.
Right.
And those were exemplary college quarterbacks.
Yeah, definitely. They always do that, and again, Oklahoma, playing West Virginia, and West Virginia has been struggling all year long, but. The thing is, Rattler had 256 and a touchdown, but he threw the pick. He doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look ready. West Virginia, and again, this was a conference game, so I'll give a little bit of to that because some of these conference games are a little bit closer. Got to shout out Nathan for watching, saying, "Yo, fellas, what's up, man?"
What's up, Nate?
We talked and he said Marion could be potentially top 20 team. We talked about them earlier that they're undefeated. They beat Kent State. So hey, definitely on the radar. Definitely on the radar. I want to get to these a couple more of these games real quick. Actually, just want to highlight two teams, Texas and Miami, who definitely have been struggling this year. Played some cupcakes and put up 65 plus. Miami put up 69, and Texas put up 70. It's always good to see something like this, but
it's a little bit of too little, too late at this point.
You're right. Yeah, it's nothing I can really believe in.
Everybody in the ACC is going to have to lose out, and the same for the Big 12. And we know that's not happening for either of them to even be considered to win to get in the conference championship. And even if they do, they're not going to get a playoff berth. Right. All they can hope to do at this point is just win out and get a good bowl game.
Right. And Texas in their game, they won 70-35, but it's a Texas Tech. I mean, but you still put up 35 points, or you still gave them, 35 points. You can't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you have, Miami getting 69, but they got 69 versus Central Connecticut. So, you know what I mean? That you can't really believe in it. I mean, it's nice to see these scores get up there on the board, but you can't really believe in it. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to move on. In the top 25, there are 17 teams without a blemish, ladies and gentlemen, including the top 9 teams in the land right now, all undefeated: Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Arkansas, Notre Dame.
Alcohol, huh?
Alcohol, right? They might need some alcohol this week.
Brain is right now, huh?
Ole Miss, BYU, Michigan, Coastal Carolina, Michigan State, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Wake Forest. Outside of Alabama, because we already know what they're dealing with. And you know what? I'm going to say outside of Georgia too, because that's 1 and that's 2. Which team on here that's undefeated do you think is the most believable undefeated?
Right now, Arkansas.
Your next opponent. Interesting.
Absolutely. What they have done this year, I didn't even know they were undefeated until week 3.
Yeah.
What they have done this year with the program, given the fact that Arkansas has always been oh, that's a win. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm pretty sure Texas saw them when the schedule came out and said, oh, that's a win. Right. That's a win. I even saw it on the schedule and said, that's a win. Now I'm like, these boys going to have to bring their A game.
Yeah.
And they already bringing the A game, so they're gonna have to bring the A plus. They're gonna have to bring the A plus, the A plus AP class game this Saturday.
Oh yeah,
if they want to get by Arkansas, because them Razorbacks are looking legit, man.
They are.
I got the stats pulled up right here, bro. They are averaging right now. What are they doing? Where are the offensive? Their quarterback, KJ Jefferson, 844 passing yards so far on the season. 46 to 78, 844 yards. His completion percentage is a little off. I'm thinking that's more of an accuracy thing because I don't see he's only got 2 pickles so far this season. He's got a 59 cent. That's like Curtis Jackson's older brother, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's a close. Yeah, man. That's my brother, man. 59 cent. Anyway, he's got a 59% completion average. He's averaging 10.8 yards per pass. So that basically means every time he throws the ball, he's throwing a first down. His longest has been 91, 6 TDs, 2 pickles. He's been sacked 3 times for negative 18 yards. That happens. But right now, he's got a quarterback rating of 170.1.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. Their leading rusher, Traylon Smith, 298 yards on 59 attempts, averaging 5.1 per game. He's got 3 touchdowns. Leading receiver, Treylon Burks, 19 receptions, 373 yards, averaging 19.6 yards per reception. He's the one that caught the 91-yard pass for 2 touchdowns. I mean, they're going out there. They're world beaters. They're beating everybody stupid. And right now, what am I looking at? Okay. So their total offensive, they have amassed 1,920 yards so far this season, at an average of 480 yards per game.
Wow.
That's impressive as I'll get out. This is not your, I won't say your daddy's Arkansas, because I would say this is not your big brother's Arkansas. 10 years ago, Arkansas was not putting up numbers like this.
Right.
And they're doing big things. And so that, for me, is the most believable. If I gotta go let me take another look here and see who else is pretty believable. Do you mean believable in the sense of opportunity to win the whole shebang, or just believable?
No. Well, I was just saying believable. I mean, I you talked about Jefferson. He had 7 to 15 for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was more so against who they played. They played Texas A&M, who at the time was ranked 7th. And, they played them very tough. And I think Texas A&M was another team that was like, we got this one. Let's check them off the list. We don't have to worry about them. You mentioned Smith. You mentioned Burks. Both of them heavy contributors to that offense. But they played an all-around game. And I know you like them, and I know they're playing you. That's why it's interesting that you mentioned them. But, yeah, who else just comes to mind on that list that you're like, like this, they could shock the world?
Baylor.
Huh.
Baylor's
21 Baylor.
Baylor's not ever really mentioned at the top tier.
Right.
But Baylor, since I have been following Baylor is always the team that's the threat to get you, especially in the Big 12. If you've seen Oklahoma come through and they've got 1 loss, that's Baylor. Every year it's Baylor. If it's not Baylor, it's Iowa State. And if it's not Iowa State, it's Kansas State. But Baylor, more than not, is able to whoop anybody on any given Saturday. They are believable. Let's see who else on here. Let me take a look. I gotta kind of give Brigham Young some love. Because Brigham Young, I remember BYU growing up when BYU was a dominant team, and they've always managed to at least keep an average to good football program. I've never known Brigham Young to be bottom of the barrel. So I give them some love there. I'm not trusting Penn State yet because they haven't gotten the meat and potatoes of their schedule. They did beat Auburn, but we know Auburn is suspect already. Iowa, I'll give Iowa some love too. Now, I'll tell you who I don't believe. Wake Forest, but I don't know how the hell they are undefeated at this point.
They got a good offense. They got a really good offense.
Oklahoma State. I'm surprised. Oh, I'm surprised OSU does not have at least one loss, maybe two at this point. But that's the way OSU runs. Start the season, win one, maybe start with a loss, and then break off two more and two or three more, and then lose another one and be two losses deep by the time they're at the midpoint of the season.
Right.
And generally still have a chance to win the conference and drop the one game they need to win to get into the conference playoff, the conference championship.
Yeah, so, Oklahoma State normally will lose a random game and then, maybe beat Oklahoma in that game, or do something crazy. And this, I mean, they're one.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, in the past it's happened. I'm saying that, but Oklahoma State this week we're gonna figure out who will actually get a blemish, because you speak about Baylor. Baylor plays Oklahoma State. Number 21 Baylor plays number 19 Oklahoma State this week at 7:00 on ESPN2. So
put it on the books. Baylor wins by 17. Put it on the books.
17. That's interesting. I disagree on Penn State. I do believe in Penn State. I do think they need to get into that the Big Ten schedule. But from what I've seen in the Big Ten schedule, I think one loss in the Big Ten, it will kind of be like one loss in the SEC. You know what I mean? I mean, there's such good competition in there. This year, you have Michigan that's undefeated. Michigan State, I know people are sleeping on them, and you're probably going to give me a hard time about it. And maybe I am a little biased. My fiance is from Michigan and everything. Michigan State's got a good team. That guy, Mel Tucker, their coach, second-year guy, came from Colorado. Discipline, defense. They got a nice little offense they're running. That running back transferred from Tennessee. I'll look that up and come back to you. But their running back, Walker, is a monster. I think Michigan State can shock some people. Definitely.
My other unbelievable is Michigan. I don't trust Michigan. I told you, I mentioned earlier, Notre Dame is the Michigan of the independents, and Michigan is the Michigan of the Big Ten. Because I somehow or another, Ryan Day is going to figure out a way to win over Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I believe it. I think right now the top three in that car. Well, actually, I got to give Michigan State, and Maryland are my undefeateds, with Iowa up there. Ohio State, with that loss to Oregon, who is number 3. That's what a team I have not watched them play fully, so I don't fully know how I feel about them. I don't want to just go out here and say, oh, they beat Ohio State, so I'm on board with Oregon. But I'm definitely interested. They definitely caught my attention. But I'm really. Yeah.
It's hard for me to watch Oregon and BYU, because with these 11 o'clock kicks, man, you got kickoff at 11 o'clock. You watch 11 o'clock game, a 2:30 game, a 6:30 game, a 7 or 8 o'clock game. And by then it's 10 o'clock. I'm not trying to stay up and watch football. I'm not trying to watch 12 hours worth. So for those of you that play on the west side of the country, I'm sorry I haven't seen any of your games. Y'all come someplace in another time zone to play, I definitely peep you out. That's all I got.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah, they're honestly that's some of my favorite ball, because it's just you can't expect it when you come to the Alabamas and the big name team. It's like, okay, you have 3 or 4 guys that you're like, all right, that guy, gotta watch him. If he doesn't do good, then it's like, oh, he had a bad game, whatever, what have you. When you go to these other places, I remember watching the MAC conference. Now they're not out west, but they're less televised. And I remember when Kareem Hunt was playing, and I remember watching him and being like, yo, that dude is the truth. And people like, what? Never heard of this guy. And he showed up in the league. I'm telling you, that West, those late games, although they're hard to watch, definitely some of those, they are entertaining, but you can find some gems out there. You can definitely find some gems.
Yeah, man. Fact, while you're talking about these undefeateds, I have Arkansas and Penn State on the come up list from last week. I only had the games through the third game, but Arkansas, what they've got left, they've got us on Saturday, number 13 Ole Miss, number 23 Auburn, University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Mississippi State, LSU, Bama, and Missouri.
Yeah.
And that right there is a little bit of a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Because since I wrote these notes down, is that Ole Miss? Is that Mississippi State? Is Mississippi State ranked? No, they're not. But since I wrote that down, no, Auburn lost, but Auburn will still scrap with you. Ole Miss is still ranked. Matter of fact, Ole Miss moved up one spot to 12 from 13. Mississippi State will go toe to that's a SEC game, so they're going to beat on each other. LSU, very quietly, if you remember, week 2, I said that old Coach Ogeron was living on the edge.
Yeah.
They're 3-1 now. They're creeping. I think if LSU wins this week and somebody else loses in grand fashion, LSU creeps back up in the top 25. And in the Bama, I also had Penn State. They were averaging about 380 to 95 yards per game at that point. They have left on the roster Ohio State, Michigan State, Ole Miss, Louisville, Austin Peay, and Tulane. But seriously, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Their next 4 games are against ranked teams.
Yeah.
So they have a gauntlet to run, and that's going to be where they make their paycheck right there. So I definitely had them on my come up list for this week.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, man. So yeah, some of these teams are not going to be undefeated again. You got number 7 Cincinnati playing, number 9 Notre Dame, number 19 Oklahoma State playing, number 21 Baylor. You got number 2 Georgia, number 8 Arkansas. So some of these teams are not going to be undefeated, and that's going to lead us into our next segment where we're going to talk about the Week 5 preview. We've got a big slate of games starting as we speak right now. Virginia has a 9-0 lead on Miami, and as you talked about before, as you talked about it before. Miami played Coastal, Central Connecticut. You know what I mean? There's nothing to write home about. So, and they're seeing what happens against a Virginia team that has a very good offense. I'm liking their offense. I know their running back was out when they played against us a couple weeks ago, but I really think their offense is solid. Nothing major, but ACC solid. You know what I mean? There's SEC, there's Big 12, and there's ACC solid. There's variations.
Look, Virginia is a very good team that just doesn't have the depth of talent to compete at the top of their conference.
Right.
I mean, when I went to see them play Notre Dame, they played Notre Dame close.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame came down. I went to that game, and they played Notre Dame close. I think Notre Dame finally put it away in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
And
that's another place that's turned into a basketball school.
Who, Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, because they did win the national championship, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I remember that. Matter of fact, I was sitting down in Hooters having some wings down the street from my house when they won.
Oh, yeah. Now, after getting knocked out in the first round by MPBC. So I got to definitely show some shade on there as a Tar Heel. definitely got to do that. But look, Week 5 is here, and I'm going to start with the game. We've already mentioned this. You've already laid out the stats for both sides of the thing. You've already talked about these guys are world beaters. Number 8 Arkansas on the come up against the number 2 ranked team in the nation, Georgia. What's your prediction? How you feeling, man?
I think this one is going to get down. I think this game is going to be a little bit in the beginning, like Georgia's first game against Clemson. I think they're going to both go. Arkansas is hyped because they're 4-0, and they're actually in a discussion. I don't know if you follow the page SEC Shorts, but they did a skit called Arkansas Moves Out of the FBS Basement. And it's a whole bunch of people like UMass and Vanderbilt, and they're getting ready to watch a video of Vanderbilt getting the snot beat out of them. And they're like, Arkansas, come out, we're going to watch a movie. And Arkansas is like, I'm moving out. I'm moving out.
Right.
They said, well, what have you done? You haven't beaten any ranked teams. Actually, we beat 2 ranked teams, and we're 4-0. And they're like, go be proud of us. And he moves out. He moves out. And then there's a knock at the door, and FSU shows up. It's like, hey, I heard you guys had an apartment for rent.
At an opening. Exactly.
Yeah. So these guys are hyped. They're ready to come out there. They want to show everybody that they are not a fluke. And I think that this may be an even bigger challenge than we faced against Clemson. And I think because these guys, because Clemson came in like, we're Clemson. We just gonna wipe the floor with you guys like we did last time. And that proved to not be the case. Arkansas is like, Arkansas's got nothing to lose. They're gonna go out there. Right. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised if some guys, they got a couple of injuries out there because the guys' bodies are flying all over the field. Because right now, the one thing that can do the best thing to further their cause is to knock off the number 2 team in the country.
Right.
Especially a conference opponent that has been whooping on them for the last several decades. Right. I think it's going to be close. I think after a while, when the adrenaline starts to even out, I definitely know that I think that Georgia has the better defense. And I think that Georgia's defense is going to be the determining factor keeping the game in check. Yeah. And once we get that in check and the offense gets to humming, I think I'm not going to predict the score, but I think Georgia wins pulling away, not by a lot, but I think Georgia wins pulling away by at a minimum of 14.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
But I still think loss. Arkansas. As long as it's relatively close within a couple of touchdowns, Arkansas won't fall too far down the rankings because they lost at this point. They've lost to the number 2 team in the country.
Right. And a lot of things have to do with the games after. If you guys fall off, then it's an issue. But I think you guys win by 10. Honestly, I think it's close, but I think you guys put them away late. Another one of the marquee matchups this coming week against 2 undefeated teams, Iowa, who's ranked number 5, against Maryland, up and coming, and they're undefeated. How you feel about this one?
I think that's going to be another close one. Iowa has been a solid top tier. They're Big Ten, right? Top tier Big Ten program for a good while now. I think Maryland figures out a way to pull this one out. I see Maryland potentially pulling this one off on a walk-off field goal.
Interesting. Yeah,
because Tagovailoa, I don't know what his first name is. We keep saying Tua, but I don't know his brother's first name. I think little Tua Jr. is going to figure out a way to keep these guys motivated.
It's Taulia. It's a Taulia.
Like I said, Tua Jr.
Yeah. So, and he's doing his thing.
It's my mother's name.
It's my mother's name. He sounds like a $2 hooker. Yo, got it. Shout. So Iowa, look, they've been playing big name ball. They got the W over their big rivalry game against Iowa State. They beat them by 10. They also beat Colorado State, Kent State, Indiana, a lot of other struggling teams. So this, I think, will be a very big matchup for them being ranked 5th. And then we've already seen what Maryland has done. Maryland's come in here, beat Kent State, beat Illinois, destroyed Howard. I feel for y'all, Howard, and just barely beat West Virginia in that first game. So I think this is going to be a solid game, potentially the game of the week. But I think you're right. I think it comes down to the end, and I think little Tua finds a way to get the W. I got to move on. I got to move on to a game I'm kind of excited about, but we've been kind of playing off and on as of late. UNC versus Duke. Ladies and gentlemen, most of y'all might know this as a basketball rivalry, but in recent years, we have actually been pretty solid back and forth in the football game. And I don't know if you know, Anthony, but Duke put up like 53 a week ago. So I can't lie. I am kind of peeking.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do you like I did. I'm gonna do you like I did a couple weeks ago. Who did they put 53 points on?
They put 52 on Kansas. So yeah, they put 52 on Kansas. They lost to Charlotte. They beat North Carolina A&T, and then they beat Northwestern. So nothing major, but
the fact that they have the wherewithal to put 53 points on the board when they're playing a minor opponent is impressive.
Right. They still gave up 33. Yeah.
And let's be real. UNC came into the season ranked with a Heisman hopeful behind the center. And just because they've fallen off doesn't mean they're not going to be able to get their dander up for this game this coming weekend. This is a rivalry. It's just like Georgia, Florida. Georgia, Florida is a rivalry across all sports: football, baseball, softball, basketball. Anytime we play, although the one that everybody knows about is a cocktail party because everybody gets drunk. But so this is going to be a rivalry game.
Yeah,
and there's no way I don't see the Tar Heels and Duke beating each other up. I'm gonna give this one to your boys. I think because they got some redemption. They want some redemption. They came in, they were ranked, and like I said, Howell, everybody was talking Heisman for him before the season started, and now it looks like a little bit of the magic has gone out. And I think they come back, and I'm going to give UNC this one by 11 minimum.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, we're 2-2. Like you said, Howell was definitely projected in the Heisman hopeful list in the beginning of the season. But I mean, let's be honest, man. 4 of his top studs went to the NFL: Michael Carter, Devontae Williams, De'Ami Brown, and Daz Newsome. 2 receivers and 2 running backs. 2 running backs who had 1,000 yards last year. 2 receivers who had the same. You know what I mean? So these guys, that's a lot of production now that is playing on Sundays, and he doesn't have that much. On the flip side,
next man up. Come on, man.
But but this is what I'm saying. On the flip side, because I'm being realistic. I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, we're going to win everything. On the flip side, Sam Howell can still put that pedal to the metal. He's put up 59 on 2 separate occasions. One, obviously, against Georgia State, which is but then against aforementioned Virginia team, they put up 59 against them. You know what I mean? Right. Again, they've lost 2 conference games, one against Virginia Tech and one against Georgia Tech. So the Techs have been just tearing us up this year. So it's going to be interesting today. I think it could go either way. I would love to say my boys. Huh?
That one hurt. That's what I'm saying. That one hurt, and that's why I say they're really going to be up for this game, because Georgia Tech is right along where Arkansas was last year, is right along where Vanderbilt has been in the SEC. Georgia Tech was always the afterthought, except for the year they won the national championship.
Right.
Georgia Tech has always been the afterthought. That's always an automatic W. And they pulled it off. When I saw the score, I was, whoa. Did anybody tell Georgia? Did Georgia Tech know that academic school?
Right. And the thing, but again, and this is where we got to put in question how good Clemson is, because they held Clemson to 14 points and they lost to them 14-8. You know what I mean? And some could say maybe they just got up for that matchup, but and some can also say, hey, Clemson just really wasn't that great. You know, but
maybe Tech's defense is a little better than we thought, which means that now, granted, we all also talking ACC, because that's always our final game of the season. That's always our last game of the season, right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So that's definitely interesting. Now you got 2 more games on this list. I mentioned before Cincinnati and Notre Dame. That could honestly go either way. I think Cincinnati is going to pull it out, but Notre Dame, like you talked about, man, Notre Dame, they have these sparks. They're good. They're a good team, but great. You know, I think they're ACC good. They're ACC and mid-majors good.
This is going to be the game that is going to the monkey wrench in the plans for Notre Dame again. Every year, except for the year they made the playoffs, there's always been that game that threw the monkey wrench in the whole thing. And this is going to be the one for Notre Dame. I think they're both very good football programs. I see Cincinnati pulling this one off. I got Cincinnati by 5.
Yeah. I like Cincinnati in this one, and I honestly, I'm going to tell you, I know maybe they cannot beat an Alabama, but with Ritter at the helm, a seasoned vet, I think Cincinnati is looking at a January bowl. So watch out for the Bearcats. And last but not least, we started off last time by mentioning, for the first half an hour, mentioning all Alabama. And now we're going to finally get them in here in a mention. And they are playing number 12, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, who they have had issues with in the past. How are we looking at this? Is this a walk-off, or is this going to be like the Florida game?
Bama by 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it. Bama by 3 touchdowns.
There you go.
There's nothing that can be said. It's Nick Saban, and generally when a Saban-led team has lost to an Ole Miss, it's wow. Somebody drank the special juice today so they can beat the Toon Squad. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't happen okay, in the championship, that's one thing. When somebody jumps up and busts Alabama in the mouth, or in the Iron Bowl, because in-state rivalry, conference rivalry, division rivalry, so it's like a triple rivalry, and they beat the hell out of each other for 4 quarters. That's not a surprise. When Georgia was on the verge of beating Alabama, that was not a surprise. Georgia was the number 2 team in the country that year. However, if it happens, everybody's gonna be like clutch the pearls. Bama by 3 touchdowns.
Nice. I can see that happen.
Especially you got Bryce Young, you got Mechie, you got Robinson. Enough said.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the major games to look at. A couple others that I think are gonna definitely be some dandies. Pittsburgh plays aforementioned Georgia Tech. We'll talk about how Georgia Tech's D might be playing good. A Big Ten matchup with Minnesota and Purdue. Another one with Michigan and Wisconsin. All these are normally really good in-house. Texas TCU. I think that might be it.
Because you mentioned Minnesota.
Minnesota, Purdue.
Minnesota's always been a fly in the ointment for a few teams in that conference.
PJ Fleck, yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that Minnesota lost to Bowling Green last week?
Mm-hmm.
I've been tracking Bowling. I have at my job. There's an internship program. Different areas have internship programs. At corporate up your way, they have an internship program, and the vice president that founded it is a Bowling Green alum. Nice. So we have a lot of Bowling Green alumnus working at the corporate level, and because of that, because we joke and they're like, oh yeah, we know you got your dogs, go dogs, woof woof woof. You know, we went to Bowling Green, we didn't have a good football team. I've been tracking Bowling Green this year because we had the conversation over the summer. Bowling Green is on a 2-game win streak, and they beat Minnesota.
Yeah.
Kind of like Georgia Tech beating North Carolina. I'm sorry, I know that's your squad, but it's the equivalent.
Right, and I mean Minnesota, we've seen is not a bad team. They have that guy Ibrahim at running back from 24, and I mean, look, they put up 31 against Ohio State in the first week and had them on the ropes.
Yes, was just getting ready to touch on that. Ohio State was getting touched on. They had that boy. Right. They had C.J. Stroud looking shook. He was like, Stroud was like Chris Rock in New Jack City. Scotty, help me! I'm about to die.
Right, he was looking shook. I'm telling you. So definitely watch out for that. Watch out for them. Louisville and Wake Forest. I think that's going to be a sleeper good game. Louisville's got this quarterback who they try to make the heir apparent to Lamar, but he's not as good. This guy Mark Cunningham, dual threat guy, pretty solid. But Wake Forest has got a nice little offense, and I think they're ranked 24th finally. So we're going to see how that plays out. Any other little small games or any other games that we should know about?
Well, I want to touch on Savannah State because, we said we were going to do some HBCU spotlights. I don't have an HBCU spotlight this week. It was my intent to talk about Jackson State University. More about that later. But I do want to touch on my hometown school, the place where I found who I was as a young man, Savannah State University. Savannah State University actually won the SIAC conference last year in an abbreviated COVID season. They did come out and they wound up getting mopped by Valdosta State University 53-7. Since then, they put up 50 points to Livingstone College's 6. They beat Benedict College 41-34. Last week, they beat mighty Morehouse College 29-10. All 3 games at home in T.A. Wright Stadium. Next week, they travel to Frankfort, Kentucky to play Kentucky State University. Best of luck to you, Tigers. Roar, Tigers, roar. So that's what I wanted to throw them out there as well. So Savannah State a little bit of love.
Nice. I like that.
And homecoming is on the way. Homecoming is October 30th. They will be playing against Fort Valley State University on October 30th. Some of the festivities will be abbreviated or socially distanced, but that's always a big, huge time on the campus of Savannah State, where Savannah meets the C3213 College Street, Savannah, Georgia.
Nice. And just to go over the scoreboard from a week ago, Southern beat Mississippi Valley State 38-25. Jackson State beat Delaware State 24-17. Alabama A&M beat Tuskegee 45-35. Prairie View A&M gave another loss to my Grambling Tigers 24-10, and Alcorn State beat Bethune 38-24. Man, I'm telling you, they got some. What was I watching? I think it was this. I was watching the Alcorn and what's the name of that school? The Lions. That UAPB.
University of Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah. I was watching that game, and let me tell you, it was something like 26-7 early. Like it was a blowout early. And then they came back. I mean, it was back and forth to the end. It was a 1-point game. Alcorn State won 39-38. But it had me on the edge of my seat, and I haven't caught as many HBCU games outside of Jackson State because obviously of Deion. But I absolutely loved watching that game. So is there anything you got on the agenda?
I will say this.
Yeah.
When it comes to HBCUs, the experience at an HBCU game versus at another university. Now, don't get it twisted. All of these schools have their traditions. You got Boomer Sooner at Oklahoma. You got Roll Tide at Alabama. You got the Cowbells in Mississippi State. I think it's Virginia Tech with the Keys, right?
I think so, yeah.
You got Go Dogs. You got all these traditions. Man, look, half the time, if you go to an HBCU game, if the game is boring, the band is still just jamming. Like you can spend the whole entire game jamming with the band. And then the halftime show is like, go watch Drumline. If you've never seen Drumline, go watch Drumline. Halftime at an HBCU game is like that. With the drum majors coming out and doing the matrix and leaning over and arching and putting the hat.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, man.
It is absolutely nuts. And then the competition between those bands is very fierce. I think top 2-3 bands in the country, marching bands, the FAMU Marching 100, Southern, North Carolina A&T, and there's another couple that I'm leaving out, and y'all don't get mad at me for that. It's just those are the first 3 that pop into my head, and those are my top 3 right there. Boom, boom, boom. Now I gotta show love to the Tigers at Savannah State, of course, because I grew up listening to that band. But those are my top 3 candidates. Now, as far as HBCU Spotlight, like I said, I did intend to talk about Jackson State this week, but something else caught my eye that I wanted to talk about. I noticed that there was a whole lot of buzz because, as we know, Florida State is not doing very well at all. They are currently 0-4. I don't think I'll ever remember Florida State being 0-4 in ever. You understand what I'm telling you? Mm-hmm. In ever. Not in my lifetime, because Bobby Bowden was coached by the time he coached from the time I was 6 till I was 39 years old. Coached there for 37 years. Then Jimbo Fisher came in, and he coached up until what 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got, is it Norville, Mike Norville, or is Norville at Norville at Florida State?
I think it was him because he had COVID.
And Mike Norville is another one of those guys that is living on the edge, ladies and gentlemen, with that 0-4 record. He gave a very impassioned speech about what he can do to keep recruiting up in the face of an 0-4 record at a major program. But there's been a lot of buzz on the internet, and the buzz is, why don't they just fire Norville and go out and get Coach Prime? It would be a perfect hire. I mean, and it's the same thing. You can almost do verbatim. He's a Florida State alum. He's a Hall of Fame football player. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion. He's a college Hall of Fame player. And you know what? That'll look good on paper. I'm going to tell you what. You can throw that out the window. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why it's not a good idea for Deion to go to Florida State. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think Deion is going to go to Florida State. Number one, I mentioned Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher. Let's look at their records real quick. Bobby Bowden was there, as I mentioned, from 76 to 2009. He won a national he got 2 national championships, one in 93 on the AP coaches poll, one in 99 on the BCS. 12 ACC conference wins. 12, count them. 377, 129, and 4. Ranked number 4 on the all-time coaches list for number of wins. In front of him, John Gagliardi, Joe Paterno, and Eddie Robinson. He is in lofty company. Behind him, Jimbo Fisher from 2010 to 2017 with an 83-23 coaching record, who also won a BCS championship with Mr. E to W under center in 2013 and 4 conference championships. Now you got Coach Prime. Mind you, these guys came in as coaches with coaching experience. Deion right now has 2 seasons of head coaching experience at the college level. With a 7-4 record, he's in his 7th season. Right now, Jackson State is 3-1. They're 1-0 in the conference, and they are tied for first place in the SWAC East. Okay? He's, like I mentioned, he's a Super Bowl winner twice with 2 different teams. Matter of fact, he's the only person in sports history to have played in a Super Bowl and a World Series. He won Super Bowl 29 with the 49ers, Super Bowl 30 with Dallas. 6-time All-Pro, first team. 2 times second team. 1994 Defensive Player of the Year. 8-time Pro Bowler. Falcons Ring of Honor in the Pro and College Hall of Fame. The 90s All-Decade Team, both as a DB and a punt returner. Primetime has got the credentials. He's got those credentials, but those credentials for him are for as a player and someone who would be an excellent recruiting. Like he could recruit. There won't be a problem. Hey, you know what I'm saying? You know what it would mean to have somebody like Deion Sanders on your recruitment staff to go out and get these kids. Come on down there, Florida State. We'll take care of you. Blah blah blah. You know, you got any problems? You come and see Coach Prime. We'll take care of you. As a head coach, though, nah. Now here's my pros for him going. He's an excellent motivator. I remember watching the speech that he gave. Remember when they did the whole procession, like Prince Hakeem coming to the throne, when they drove him in the whatever the car was, the convertible. He got out the back of the convertible and went up to the marching band, and everybody at the school was there. And he gave this very impassioned speech. And he talked about dedication and motivation and uplifting and things of that nature. He's an excellent motivator. He's an excellent motivator. Like I said, it'd be a great recruiting tool. If I was 17 or 18 years old and I had my choice of going to, say, UCF or going to Florida State, and Coach Prime is telling me come to Florida State, I might go to Florida State just to play and be up under Coach Prime. Whether we were good or whether we were bad, I would go because I had an opportunity to say I was coached by Coach Prime. Now, that's about right where that stops, because we don't have a huge body of work other than his work at Jackson State to build off of. Like, we don't know how much of that is Deion. We don't know how much of that is his coaching staff. Here's the biggest con for Deion going to coach at Florida State. And I want you to look in the camera. Those of you watching right now, look me in my eyes. I'm going to tell this to you. Deion does not like to play a backseat to anybody. Deion needs to be in charge. Deion needs to be in control. He's not a control freak, but he needs to be in total control of the program. If he goes to Florida State, following behind Jim Norville and what is going on down there right now, they'll welcome him in with open arms. But he's going to be on a short leash. Because you see what happened to Taggart. Taggart came in and he had all the accolades in the world. And they had a couple of losing seasons and he was out the door like 90 going north. Boom, like that. And that's when they brought in Norville. He's going to be on a short leash. At Jackson State right now, he'll have carte blanche. I don't know how much Norville's making right now. I think I talked about that before. No, he wasn't on my living on the edge list before. But I'm guaranteeing you Norville's making 7 figures a year. He might be making between $3 to $5 million a year right now. With an 0-4 record. Deion is making $300,000 a year as the coach at Jackson State. Well, he'll make more money at Florida State. Deion, number one, Deion's got money. Number two, you see they have set him up to become the heir apparent for Aflac. I don't know if you noticed that. Coach Saban said, Coach Prime, I think you finally fit to wear the Aflac blue. You did what I'm saying? Setting him up to be the next Aflac spokesperson. Deion's got money. Last year, Deion was running down the street holding pizzas, delivering pizzas. Deion has money. But Deion is happier making his money on the side and getting his $300,000 from Jackson State and being in total control of that program, because what that does is that allows him to rebuild that program with his hands from the ground up.
Right.
Florida State will bring him in, give him a nice fancy car, give him a fat check and some keys and go, here you go. Don't wreck it. If you wreck it, we'll fire you. That's why Deion's not going there, man. I don't. Like, and Deion is too vocal. That's the other thing. Because if Deion sees something not right, Deion's going to have something to say about it. Right. And you know those boosters and those alums and those fans are not going to tolerate Deion talking about the athletic administration and the AD and the president of the school and the fans. They'll run Deion out of town on a rail.
Right.
I think then too, Deion's whole movement was Deion started a movement. It's a little slow moving, but he started a movement. He said, all of these kids coming from these HBCUs, they hardly get any exposure. They have their facilities are less than a lot of they're less than the FCS schools. The campuses, the things that they have. He said, I want to help build back the programs, the dominance, at least the dominance of the HBCU programs. That's what I want to do. He's trying to build a new legacy. He's trying to build back up the dominance of the Gramblings and the Jackson States and the North Carolina A&Ts and the Savannah States. He's trying to build those schools back up so that those kids who might not have the grade point average to get a scholarship and would have to go someplace else and play would say, I want to go to Jackson State. I want to go to Tennessee State, because now Eddie George, another NFL great, is down there as the head coach. I think he's dedicated too much of his time and too much of his word. And Deion is not one that likes to look bad. Why am I talking about him like I'm Deion in the third person? Because, you know, Deion likes to talk about himself in the third person. But Deion has put too much of his time and his energy and his word on building that program to turn around and walk away from it. Could he potentially do it if they stroke him a big enough check and guarantee him a long enough time there? Maybe. But I don't see it happening. I think Deion is too dedicated to what the seeds that he has planted. He wants to help them grow to fruition, or at least get them to a point where if for some reason he is not able to continue on, then somebody else can take that ball and run with it. And that is my HBCU spotlight this week for Coach Prime at Jackson State. Now, Jackson State is 3-0, and you said who are they playing next week? I got it right here. This coming weekend, they are playing. Oh, it looks like they're off this weekend because they don't play.
Prairie View's playing right now. Arkansas Pine Bluff and up 21-9 at the half. But yeah, this weekend's games are Bethune, Cookman, South Carolina State, Alabama A&M playing Grambling, North Carolina Central playing Mississippi Valley State, Texas Southern playing Northampton, and then Alcorn State playing FAMU.
And Savannah State in Kentucky playing Western Kentucky.
Yeah, and to your point, you had mentioned earlier about the names, some of the names of the bands. Yeah, I mean, one of the things about it is the bands and HBCUs are definitely colorful. They're it's different than just the marching band of the Ohio State. You know, like Jackson State is Sonic Boom of the South, and Southern is the Human Jukebox.
Human Jukebox.
You know, Tennessee State is the aristocrat of bands. Even my alma mater, Virginia State, the Trojan Explosion. So, HBCUs I love the band name. It's true. The game is when you pay for your ticket, the game is only half it. That might even be just a refreshment. The band and the crowd and all that extra stuff is
because you got the tailgate.
Yeah,
you got the game. You got the band, and then as far as the bands, to even touch further on the bands, it is their HBCU bands are musically talented, but they are also more performance based. There's not a whole lot of there's not just marching and formation. They're much more performance based. You see a lot of dancing and choreography and things of that nature. And I don't know if you know or not, somewhere in the last 10 years, one of those SEC schools from Baton Rouge, the one in the purple and the gold, they started playing this song called Neck. Okay. HBCU bands was playing Neck 25, 30 years ago when I was in school. Savannah State used to play Neck.
Yeah.
And they act like and some of them, they act like it's a cool. Now I will give LSU their props. They got a big old band. But I'd put them up against Southern or Grambling or North Carolina A&T, they'll get blown out of the water. And they play Neck real good, but that to them is something new. Neck was released. Fun fact: Neck, I believe, was on the same album with Word Up. It's a cameo song.
Nice.
It was on the same album with Word Up. So that song in itself is almost 40 years old. Right. And LSU's been playing Neck for like the last 10 years, and that's a huge deal for them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
and that's
so the HBCU bands, there's a lot of things. I'm not saying if you can take something and do something good with something that's already been out, good. But I'm just here to tell you it's been done already. It's been done already. And so, the swag surf is the new thing now.
Right. It's been done already. You're absolutely right. It's been done already.
I'm not taking anything away from any of the other schools that are doing it now. I'm just saying, swag surf, the HBCU bands were doing that when it was a brand new thing. The colleges were playing Neck when it was a brand new thing. So it's an experience, man. I'm telling you, especially if you go on campus early, you got the fish fry up on the yard.
It's definitely an experience. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Greek strolling and stepping and doing carrying on. And you got the DJ out there spinning, and then everybody makes their way down the tailgate, and they drinking and eating some more. And then look, let me tell you something.
It's an experience. It is. I've been to both. I've been to HBCUs and I've been to the other major colleges, and it's definitely an experience in itself. I highly, highly recommend it. But be prepared because it's going to be an all day event for sure.
Yes, sir. Like church.
So, hey, that's what's up. And hey, guys, there are many games going on. There are games going on right now. There are games going on tomorrow. I know that Iowa-Maryland game is on tomorrow. So definitely tune into that and tune into an entire slate of games on Saturday. So much that's coming to you. And we will be with you next week, giving you more of the news and the notes, breaking down the scores, breaking down the highlights, and even getting in some of our as we get closer towards the end of the year, we'll start to get to some of our Heisman hopefuls and who we think is going up there, and even a little bit of draft stuff. So we'll see who we think is actually, going to be, good fits in certain situations. But yeah, hey, it's been a great one. Hey, for myself, I'm Sean Spencer. You see this guy right here.
I'm Anthony Handy.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Checking us out on Let's Talk College Football.
Yeah, buddy.
And the shout out king, Mr. Sean Spencer. We appreciate y'all. Are we out of here, bro?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Peace
All
out.
right, guys. So, hey, so good. Glad you guys came. Hope you guys can return.